Okay, thank you so much for being here. Okay, so what I'm going to share today is about the impact of the generative artificial intelligence in the news reporting for the natural disasters. So the Jishishan earthquake actually happened in the night of December 18, 2023. So it happened in the midnight while the local residents were actually asleep. This earthquake finally caused almost 130 deaths and more than 500 injuries. So it's kind of a very important um, is a very important natural disaster. So what I'm going to study for this research is actually to understand the impact of the generative AI in the use of the news reporting. So how this generative AI is going to influence the legitimacy of the Chinese government. So today, the generative AI is actually widely used in the news reporting for the natural disasters. So among all the natural disasters, actually the earthquake is the area in which the application of generative AI is the most mature. So as the scholars have already argued, the future of journalism and its business models are going to be shaped by the penetration of the technological deployment. Until now, the AI has been, there are three subfields of AI technologies that have already been used for the news reporting, including the machine learning, the computer vision, and also the planning, scheduling, and optimization. So the use of AI has very important implications for the authoritarian context like China. So why I see that? Because there is kind of a bureaucratic, secretive culture and also kind of the information manipulation in authoritarian context. So in this case, since the generative AI is expected to accelerate the information production and the information diffusion, so is it helpful for kind of to reduce people's impression about the information manipulation? Um, so the research question can be resumed as to what extent does the application of generative AI to the reporting of natural disasters will help to increase citizens' trust of the Chinese government? All right. So for the data and the methods, I actually conducted 8 interviews with the reporters and the editors of the Chinese mainstream media. So from March to June for this year. And then I also collected all the 48 news articles, the printed version of the news articles for People's Daily from 20 to 27. On 28, there is the People's Daily no longer printed articles on the Jishishan earthquake. And then I also collected almost 50,000 comments to the 26 postings of People's Daily on Weibo on 19 December 2023, because this is the day in which the use of AI for the news reporting is the most intensive. So the first thing I wanted to explain a bit, so how widely generative AI is used for the news reporting in China. So the AI is actually used for mostly for aggregating the facts, not for producing opinions. So here is an interview with an editor of the CCTV. So this guy actually explains the selective use of generative AI in the news reporting. So when the information is about the natural disasters like the flooding, the tsunami, and all other natural disasters. So the AI is used actually for these types of information production, because when you produce these types of news, the format is very similar. You indicate the place, the date, the size of the characters, and also what the rescue actions which are already deployed on the ground. So the format for the reporting of these types of information is very similar. So this is not because you don't need to produce the opinion. So I give you one example for the People's Daily, which is the mouthpiece of the Chinese party state. So in 2023, last year in October, so they kind of launched this AI creation platform. So this platform combines several AI technologies like computer vision and also the natural language processing, the natural language understanding, things like that. So the Jishishan earthquake is actually the first natural disaster which happened after People's Daily launched this all media intelligent creation platform. So this platform actually accelerates the efficiency for People's Daily to produce news information in China. Yeah, and then another thing, so as I said before, so actually for the mainstream media in China, like the CCTV and the People's Daily, so they have important propaganda responsibilities. So they cannot totally produce their information by using the generative AI. So they can delegate some parts of the work to AI, but they cannot totally use them. For before releasing each article, actually the human checking exists, even though it's not an important article, but they still exist. And then another interviewee, which works from Rio, where I'm a fellow now, actually she works for Jing magazine for several years, and now she is transferred to the Chinese broadcasting radio, which is the largest national radio in China. So the AI is used for aggregating the facts, so not for producing the opinions. So now I wanted to show the results, the content analysis of the people's reaction to the Weibo comments, the Weibo comments to the postings of People's Daily on Weibo. So I actually collected the 26 Weibo of People's Daily. So here, so this graph actually plots the number of comments. So you can see that on 19 December, actually, so this is the day in which the People's Daily actually produces almost one piece of information per hour. So because people's need for information on the first day of the earthquake is the most intensive. And the number is the number of comments on the for the number 11, the post is kind of, it received 17,000 comments. So I, because the number is pretty high, so I didn't put it here, but I just remember it's the highest information. So after after examining the frequency of the words, so actually the safety, so among the people's comments, the safety is highly dominating in terms of the number, all the other comments of the netizens. So it means that the Chinese netizens actually, so it's not the legitimacy of the government they care. So what they commented on the most is actually so to wish the safety for the local people. And then what is also very striking is that at no time, either in the people's comments or in the Weibo postings of People's Daily, there is no mentioning of government. So only one occurrence of the government is the Ministry of Natural Resources, which activated the level 3 emergency responses to natural disasters. So so how people commented on the rescue actions deployed at the front line. So here I want to give you some examples. So you can see that people do not directly say how the Chinese government is responsive, but the comments are mostly related to the other people, like the PLA soldiers or the firefighters or the restaurant owners who prepared noodles at the earthquake-stricken area. So without naming, so without highlighting the government, the pay tribute to the actions of the firefighters, the PLA, who actually are kind of the spokesperson of the Chinese government. So which showed that the kind of truly help to increase the legitimacy. However, there are also so this type of comments are very tiny. So you don't see quite a lot of comments for which contest the legitimacy. So among the comments I collected, so you can see that some people actually contested the reliability of Red Cross, which was involved in the found embezzlement during the COVID-19. And then there are also, you can see the last one. So it says that if there is the earthquake, people would not, so the country would not notice this very poor mountainous region. So there is also kind of the contestation. So to conclude, I want to say that actually the generative AI, when it is used for the news reporting, it can actually to increase the legitimacy of the Chinese government by providing the multi-angle news reporting, which kind of which contrast with the traditional news reporting, which only provide the viewpoint of the government, so not the kind of the different people, like the restaurant owners, for instance. And another thing I want to see before I finish is the rapidity. The rapidity, especially for these emergency cases, it is often taken as a form of the responsiveness of the government. So in this case, the generative AI news reporting also helps to build the legitimacy. And then, of course, so this research has some limits, in particular for the sample collection. So there are actually, because the data are actually collected in June, meaning that basically the data is already censored on the Weibo. So which means that the number of the contesting the number of the Weibo posts which kind of contested the legitimacy of the government are kind of pretty smaller. Maybe it's smaller than the original uncensored version. Okay, that's my research, and your comments are welcome. Thank you so much.
We will move swiftly to our second presentation. Qianhui Zhu is going to talk about innovation in Chinese news industry, the current state, impact, and future prospects of generative AI.
So, good morning, everyone. The topic of my presentation today is innovation in Chinese news industry, the current state, impact, and future prospects of generative AI. I will start my presentation from the following four perspectives. So I will start my presentation from these following four perspectives, which are the origin of research, the current state, different approaches between Chinese and foreign media, and future prospects. So let's start the first topic, the origin of my research. On February 27th, a paper titled Sora, a review on background technology, limitations and opportunities of large vision models caught my attention. In this article, the author generally mentioned some potential impacts of generative AI like Sora on the journalism industry. The original text is as follows. Journalists and news organizations can also utilize Sora to quickly generate news reports or explanatory videos, making the news content more vivid and engaging. This can significantly increase the coverage and audience engagement of news reports. By providing a tool that can simulate realistic environments and scenarios, Sora offers a powerful solution for visual storytelling, enabling journalists to convey complex stories through engaging videos that were previously difficult or expensive to produce. This actually caught my attention on the relationship between generative AI and journalists. And earlier, on the second day of Sora's launch, the collective notice from the director of China Media Group increased my interest in the topic even more. While maintaining the authenticity of news programs and proper guidelines, we can use generative AI in creating a distributing artistic programs, large-scale events, TV dramas, animations, multilingual content, and new media. Without trying, success is impossible. We cannot afford a complete defeat overnight. This actually come from noticed in the WeChat group. I don't know if that is able or not to share with you guys, so I didn't put that picture on my PowerPoint. But from the above words, it's clear that the sense of crisis brought by generative AI is affecting the entire Chinese news industry. Therefore, 4 months after Sora's launch, I'll present to you the current state in the use of generative AI in the Chinese news industry. On March 21st, the China Media Group officially established and implemented the China Media Group Artificial Intelligence Usage Standards. China Media Group actively explores AI applications while maintaining news authenticity with strict guidelines, including robust review mechanism, clear labeling rules, and a focus on data security and privacy. And the white paper also came out on May 22nd. The 2024 China AI Grand Ceremony launched in Shenzhen, co-hosted by the China Media Group. The event released the China Media Group AI Development White Paper, outlining principles to guide AI's development in media, promoting applications, ensuring safety, improving quality and efficiency, and fostering cooperation. But I have to say, the current progress mainly focused on macro-level regulations regarding the use of generative AI in the news industry, but lacking specific guidelines and training for frontline journalists on AI usage. But also, China Media Group also have a very interesting planning for broadcast media quality corpus training for audiovisual large model development plan for their own large model. The third part, I'm gonna show some different approaches between Chinese and foreign media. So I take these three media groups as example. The guideline from BBC tell us always act in the best interest of the public, always prioritize talent and creativity, always be open and transparent with audiences when we use AI to support content making. The New York Times said that as a tool, treat AI as a tool in service of our mission, with human guidance and review, transparently and ethically. The CMG guideline tell us to adhere to the principle of correct guidelines as the foremost principles, uphold the red line of news authenticity, providing truthful, objective, and comprehensive reports, implement multi-departmental oversight for AI applications. From that, we can see some difference between these three media groups. We can see that the BBC's guidelines are evidence-oriented. The New York Times guidelines focus more on the utilitarian using of AI, while CMG emphasized usage discipline. Apart from the differences in guidelines, these three media organizations also adopt three different approaches to handling generative AI. The BBC approaches generative AI from both the journalist and the audience perspective, integrating it as an assistant in the news industry. The New York Times is still suing OpenAI to protect its intellectual property from being infringed by generative AI. And CMG is building its own large language model corpus to avoid potential biases and ideological issues that may exist in generative AI. It still don't know these three ways which is better for using generative AI in news industry, but I believe in the future we will see some results that these three ways cause. And there is still some more preliminary question from me. We can see that all the guidelines or from these media groups are actually some top-down regulations. Do this kind of top-down regulation help frontline journalists in using generative AI? From my perspective, as my friend in China media groups, they told me that the usage level in Chinese media group frontline journalists is still on the relatively basic level. Because on the news for TV platform, there absolutely cannot use AI for video or article using. But for new media platform, they can use a part of the generative AI, but without any guidelines or specific policy for them. So they need to use use their own mind to choose what kind of AI they need to use. The second question is collaboration or litigation. Can news media based on advertising business model and traditional licensed media form a united front? We can see the difference between BBC and New York Times and CMG. So in the future, can this kind of media united together to use the AI, or they need to share the different way to use AI in news industry? This still needs some time to find out. The next topic is future prospects. The emerging concerns with generative AIs we can already find out. Technology firms mastering generative AI used high performance algorithms and big data to simulate human-like neural network feedback loops through reinforcement learning and deep learning. This raises concern in the news industry about privacy, societal control, and public opinion. Big data may also lead to issues like digital infringement, biases, and ideological concerns. The principle to truthfulness and accuracy in news reporting is essential for professionals in the field. It requires journalists to pursue the truth by tracking and presenting verified facts, disclosing information sources, and refraining from manipulating images and sound in any misleading manners that could deceive the audience. In the area of generative AI, news journalists not only produce news, but also need to take on the role of verifying. Challenge to journalism in the area of generative AI, I think it's we can already find it out. The rise of the internet and self-media challenges the traditional journalism as non-professionals become new producers, disrupting conventional models. Generative AI like ChatGPT and Sora amplify these challenges by enhancing video production efficiently and lowering cost, potentially encroaching on professional domains. This also increases the risk of spreading fake news under the guise of virtual authentics. What we need to do is to make generative AI enhance human efficiency, not to replace human. News production is a creative endeavor that cannot be presented in large models. Large models will also lack in the domain of news, and the responsibility of journalists to observe and report on the social environment cannot be entirely replaced by AI. So that's all. Thanks for listening.
Here. Our next speaker is in person, and that is Jing Meng, and there are two authors to this paper. Dancing with AI, How Journalists Perceive the Potentials and Threats of Generative AI in Photojournalism. And take it away, Jing.
Hi, hello everyone. So today I'm going to discuss with you about how journalists actually perceive this kind of visual truths. I think previous presentations have already touched upon a lot of topics about generative AI and how they are used in Chinese medias, and they are regulated in different overseas medias as well. So today I would like to start a little bit from the very beginning of how we see about this kind of visual truths. So I think just as mentioned before, some of us may have already be familiar with the Sora. So this is something that is newly developed by OpenAI to generate images and videos. And here are lots of pictures that are actually generated by AI. And actually, maybe you can tell which one is generated by AI or not. Maybe some of you may pick out which one do you think is not generated by AI, or which one is generated by AI. But actually, all these pictures are generated by AI, but actually from our... so you want to guess, but because of time, so I just didn't let you to guess. So, but actually, I think most of us may feel that it's very difficult for us to distinguish between the realities that is generated by photojournalists and by AI. So here I think is if we go back to the beginning of those photo technologies, photography technologies. So we can see that at the very beginning, photographs are actually regarded as kind of objective representation of the world. Of course, people also challenge these opinions or these kind of arguments. But from the very beginning, especially like back then, if you watch films or you know something about documentary, then people will think about the objective nature of photographer confers on its a quality of credibility absent from all other picture making. So by then, actually, he proposed the idea of the kind of like the myth of the camera, that is to actualize reality. So you can see the French artist movies. So they're trying to present what they are trying to present kind of realistic aesthetics of films. So from the very beginning, we are trying to connect this kind of objectiveness with viewing, because we think that the original photo or cameras, they're actually capturing a moment of choice and a freezing moment of time, which is described as a decisive moment. So the time when you click the button, then you can capture the moment of that physical space and the time. But later, with the development of digital technologies, then we can see that everything is turned into digits. So it is totally different from our previous understandings of the celluloid films, where we take the record of the sun, the light. But actually, in the digital image, then we can see that everything is just algorithmically processed. Just to give you an example, when we take, sometimes I take photos of the PowerPoints because I want to see it clearly. But every time that, sometimes we do it very quickly, so actually the image is not of good quality. But later, if you if you are using some iPhones or some different kind of phones, they will automatically correct it. So you can see a very clear photo of everything very clearly. So this is AI generated images, still very different from the previous images, right? So it's something kind of, we call it kind of human and mechanical agency. So it's different from the previous one that we click the button, but still it's not click the button, but you are typing in the words. So you're still communicating or interacting with the computers, but in a different ways. And the most important thing is, I think they are generating images out of a data pool. So it's not about capturing the realities. It's more about generating realities out of a data pool. So this is, some people will say that's the increasing automation of communicative agents. So, but this is something that we are going to build upon our research upon these changes regarding this kind of photo technologies. So here I would like to discuss a little bit about photojournalism and the visual truth, because we regard the camera as a kind of objective recording of the truth. But now what we have seen is that actually from the very beginning, I think photojournalists, how they perceive themselves as a kind of eyewitness. So they're actually witnessing something that is happening. And I think one of the interesting things is nowadays people see there are more and more kind of citizen witnessing appearing, because we now all have smartphones, we can all be witnesses. So some people will argue that the professional role of journalists have changed from kind of professional witnessing to kind of piecing together all these witnesses. So this is one of the change. And then the other thing is people started to think about witnessing does not mean very detached. So because witnessing is also a process of being involved, so it's kind of affective dimension of the witnessing. So these are some of the arguments they are trying to make in the journalism in the studies of photojournalism. So here I think it's very interesting that we can see there is always a kind of tension between objectiveness and what we now see as a kind of affective dimensions of photojournalism. So it's always involved in these kind of subjective parts of the witnessing as a process. So here also, and also I think another interesting thing is now people are all visual about like now they are all kind of have kind of visual skepticism because they all know that these visual stuff are a little bit fake because nowadays we're all talking about fake news. And also, even before that, we know photos are actually edited or cut or kind of algorithmically kind of improved or enhanced. So people will say that even if we know that the visual images are not always representing the realities, but we still have to keep going on with this kind of asserted kind of arguments that we need photographs, we need witnessing because it's kind of moral and obligation. So I think it's very interesting that what people actually trying to legitimize this kind of photojournalism, what they actually now resorting more to discourses about like affects, witnessing, and obligation and the moral kind of ethical concerns. So it's something that I think very interesting then. So this is something we will continue to investigate in this kind of new scenario or in the age of AI empowered journalism. So we are going to see how professionals are actually defining this kind of visual truths in this era. So our research questions are these two questions. First is how Chinese photojournalists perceive or use or refuse to use AI in their daily practices. And then the second question is about what are the implications of their practices to visual truths. So we define photojournalism in terms of reporting, that is reporting photographically, both via different medias like online medias or newspapers, including both video reporting as well as kind of photo, just a pure print photo reportings. And the second today, I think what we are going to talk about visual truths, it includes both photographs, videos, features, and illustrations. So all these are actually used as our analysis materials. So we are going to conduct it. We're still going on, but I think I want to share some of the interesting points we would like to discuss with you in these areas. One is about the practices and attitudes towards AI and AI generated images. So some scholars have argued that actually in the past, it's more about the management board who are trying to they are more eager or positive towards these AI generated tools. But while for those human or for journalists, they are less positive toward this. So I think one of the interesting points we are going to talk about if this is the case in China or not. So who are actually more eager or positive in embracing AI in their digital practices. And the second is about the major challenges and the major opportunities. So some people have already done some research regarding different regions, how journalists in different regions they actually using the AI tools. But we're also going to see if this is the case in China. And the last point is what we are going to talk about is about the understanding of objectivity, authenticity, reality, and truth regarding journalistic discourses. So I think one of the interesting that I would like to share with you is how AI is used apart from like as our previous presenters have said, apart from like collecting facts. I think one of the interesting things they are used is for AI to generate this kind of more about government reports or some kind of more abstract stuffs. So it's more about automating not only reality, but a kind of ideology or values. Because everything is abstract, abstract does not relate to facts. So AI used for generating more abstract stuff. So I think it's very interesting that another point maybe you can talk about later, that is how AI is used. Apart from collecting facts, they are used to generate this kind of abstract concepts, values, and ideologies. And the last thing that we would like to discuss is AI and automation as kind of disruptive forces in two ways. On the one hand, it disrupts the way journalistic work is organized. And on the other hand, we can see that they are also disrupting the ideologies underpinning the practices of journalism. So I think as far as photojournalism is concerned, one of the significant disruption is challenging journalists to redefine their truth claims in the god term of objectivity, which is regarded as the fundamental cornerstone of their trade. So we are trying to discuss about how they actually redefining or reconfiguring the idea of visual truth. Oh, that's all for it? Yeah.
All right, so we'll go to our final speaker, who is also in the room. Hold on, grab your name. There you are. Yiyan Zhang will talk about the impact of personalization, algorithmic awareness on the agenda setting effects. So this evidence is from an online experiment in China. And that's, hopefully we'll have a little bit of time.
Hey, thank you very much. So my name is Yiyan Zhang. I'm an assistant professor at University of China. So I'm presenting this work on behalf of my other co-authors who unfortunately cannot be here today. Dr. Lei Guo from Fudan University, Dr. James Cummings from Boston University, and Sejin Peck from Boston University as well. So this work we're going to talk about, so as you can see, the title is a little bit long, but we will actually break it down to several keywords afterwards. So the first...
You might just need to click on it.
Okay, so the first thing I probably want to ask you to recall a little bit, have you had this conversation with your friends or families before? Right, so have you ever experienced something like, how could you not knowing this? It's everywhere on the news, on news media, right? Have you heard about something that's all around on your social media, on your news apps, on your all kinds of information channels, but your families or one of your friends didn't know it? Right? I think it happens a lot, at least for me, to when I was with my parents. Right? I thought something is everywhere in at least in my friend circles, but they don't know about it. So their answer will probably be, it's not on my news media. Right, so this actually brings us back to 1995 when Negroponte mentioned the idea of the Daily Me. Right, so back to them, he had this imaginary saying that it is sometime in the future, technology has greatly increased people's ability to filter what they want to read, see, and hear. With the aid of the internet, you are able to design your own newspapers and magazines. Right, so we probably don't have new versions of newspapers and magazines, but we have something new called news apps, news aggregators, or social media. Right, so in this case, we have the Daily Me, so it's the news designed for me. But then the problem comes to whether we can realize it, right? So one important term here is the algorithmic awareness. So a lot of times people, you asked the questions before, right? So the question I mentioned before is because you didn't even realize that it is only exposed, the topic that you see is only exposed to yourself, right? So one important thing is, can we realize this? So the idea of algorithmic awareness is when the algorithms a lot of times are are invisible, right? So according to the previous studies, a lot of people didn't even realize that the content they see are personalized, right? So Facebook users are completely unaware. More than 60% of them are unaware that algorithms are affecting their information flows, and it's the same on social media. So another related term is personalization then, right? So what is personalization? So the definition, as long I won't read it, but it's a form of interactivity, blah, 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 something like that. But the most important thing about personalization to our news flow is it is actually where two ways of curation meets with each other. Right. So according to the news curation theories, there are two types of very important news curators. One is the algorithms, and another one is the users themselves. Right. So compared to the traditional news professionals who curate our news, we have this two new forms of curators. And personalization is where this two meets. So why can I say that? Because there are two major ways of personalization. So one is called explicit register. So this is when you firstly download an app, and it will ask you what kind of information you want, what types of news you want. Right. So this is very explicitly ask you what's your preference. So that's the user curation.
And another form is algorithm curation. It's when the news aggregators, they don't ask you, but they will record your browsing behaviors, clicking behaviors, and they will recommend the relevant news based on your previous behaviors. Right, so that's algorithm curation. So these two ways will actually influence, will actually give us different levels of awareness, right? And this will lead to the combination of the two keywords I just showed you. So there's a new key term called personalization algorithmic awareness, right? And what's important about this is not only how people understand news recommendation, but also it will influence our media effects, right? So it will mediate the process of how news coverage transfer people's perceived issue importance. So how much we believe that what we see is important thing, right? So if you look at this equation, you will probably, I don't know, if you are studying mass communication, you will find this a little bit familiar because this is the very classic agenda setting theory, right? So it means that in the current personalization news environment, we have this mediator in between the most traditional agenda setting effects. And the mechanism is in two ways. So just as I said we have two curators. So the first one is when we realize that the information we see is not curated by professional journalists, and not everyone can see it. Maybe the social issue importance will decrease, right? So then I realize it's not for everybody. It's not everybody in the society who are talking about it. It's not the most important thing in the society, right? Because previously in the agenda setting theory, one of the most important psychological mechanism is agenda queuing. It's because we trust the journalists who will pick up the most important social issues for us. But now we realize they are not doing this, right? They're not doing this anymore. So maybe the news we see is not the most important social issues. So that's one mechanism. And another one is in the personalized news environment, we have higher needs for orientation, right? Because all the news I can see is very relevant to my own life. So then it will probably increase the personal issue importance. So when we ask about what are some most important issues in the world, we can ask what's the most important issue to the society versus what's the most important issue to me, right? Personalized. So this is the theoretical arguments. So based on this, we propose this framework. It looks a little bit complex, but actually it's a bit complex anyways. So this part is basically different designs of personalization. And then it will influence people's awareness, right? So whether different designs have different levels of awareness. And then it will influence whether we think something is important. And this whole mediation models will be moderated by two factors. One is literacy, right? And in the literacy, probably most important thing is how much I believe I can handle algorithms. I can understand algorithms. And another part is familiarity with personalized news. If you have been using personalized news aggregators for a long time, then maybe you know how it works already. But if you're new to it, you probably have different imaginaries. So that's the basic idea. So the design is actually a 2x3 design. We have no personalization, explicit personalization, and implicit. So basically the difference is whether I ask you what type of news you like or whether I just track your browsing history. And then we add another condition which is with cues and no cues. So whether we have a very explicit note saying the following news you will see are personalized versus we don't have this reminder. So this is the design. And we have an online experiment conducted in China from August to September 2023, and the N is around 500. And the procedure is pretty straightforward. So they have all the participants have pre-test. We ask them what are some important issues, and the post-test we ask the same question again. So the change will be the agenda setting effect. And the exposure is they're randomly assigned to one of the 6 conditions, and they read 2 rounds of news headlines. So in different conditions, for example, in the no recommendation condition, they will just read random news. And in different recommendation conditions, the second round will be, for example, for implicit, the second round will be recommended based on the first round of choice. And then we propose a novel way to calculate personalized agenda setting effects. So this is the sum of perceived issue importance change. So this is after minus before in one's interested topics. And this will be divided by the total number of issues that somebody already expressed interest. So it means that they selected the issue in the explicit condition, or they have clicked on the issue in the implicit condition. And then we have a moderated mediation model. So actually the result is very preliminary. We're still trying different statistical method to approach to it. But for now, we find that RQ1 is supported because the explicit condition actually showed much higher awareness compared to the no personalization condition. So this is as expected, right? So when I directly ask you, of course, you will have higher awareness. And is a little bit similar so there's no significant difference between with cues and no cues. This is a little bit surprising to us, and we're still a little bit confused why we have this result. But we didn't find significant result, but across the 6 conditions, we can see some significant differences. That's mainly because the explicit condition give us some differences. And then the second part of the framework, we didn't find any significance yet, but we're still trying to figure out if there's any statistical problems. And for the mediation model, we only proved the first part, this part. So we proved that the personalization designs will influence awareness level. But awareness level it does not have significant effect on people's agenda setting effects yet. And also we find a direct effects from the existence of cues. So with cues, there are stronger agenda setting effects. So when people, again, have this, so they don't even have to have stronger awareness in the middle. They can, when they have cues of personalization, they will have stronger agenda setting effects. Something similar in the social condition, social and personal condition. So this is the moderated mediation model. So even if the mediation model is not significant, we find that the most interesting thing is general algorithm efficacy will moderate this relationship. So if I can show you the very complex moderated mediation thing later, maybe in the Q&A session, then you'll probably see it clearly. So then I think I'm running out of time. So a quick summary and takeaway is we actually find incomplete mediation and incomplete moderated mediation. So personalization type and cues can influence awareness but cannot influence agenda setting effects. And only general algorithmic efficacy will moderate the relationship. And we are still a little bit, so this is why I'm here, because I'm seeking some advice on the analysis. Because we are confused whether it's no strong effects in existence, or is it the design problem, or is it a statistical problem? And the question remains how to better measure those individualized news exposure effects. And we actually already have some trial ongoing. So one thing we are concerned about is because we only have news headlines in this design. So maybe if people actually read the news article, we will have more significant effects. And also the 11 issues are probably not enough, and they're too general. So right now we're using a simulated, like real platform. So this is a platform that we designed and run by ourselves. So in this case, we can have all the backstage data, right? So how many seconds they stay on one page, how many seconds they click on something. And in this case, we can also control all the topics based on topic modeling personalization algorithm. So this will be more accurate. So hopefully with this result come out from this real platform, we will have more interesting results. And also the study I just introduced is actually a comparative study. I only introduced the China part because this is CIRC, but we actually have the US data. So maybe there will be some interesting comparison with the US data. Okay, so that's all for the presentation. I hope I'm on time enough. And thank you very much. If you have any questions, here are the contact information. Thank you.
Thank you.